Hello and welcome back to my channel. So awkward. Trying to like infuse energy into my intro. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Shireen and today I'm going to be doing part 4 of my eyeshadow techniques series. As it stands, I think that this will be the final part. So in the series, I've just been going through 4 basic eyeshadow looks that I think are the most different from each other and are also like the most wearable. So no crazy glitter, no cut creases, nothing like that. And I've been trying to make everything its own distinct category. Of course, there's a lot of like nuance and a lot of ways to change them and interweave them and intersect them, and you know, it's an art and anything basically goes as long as it makes you feel good. This one is kind of a look that I've done I think 4 times already on my channel, but it's the one where you put darkness on the outer corner of your eye and shimmer all over the lid. Before we get into it, I am wearing a little sweater thing, hoodie, I don't know, sweatshirt from Reformation, and it is so soft and so comfortable. And Reformation is also an ethical brand, which means that they pay their employees fair wages and they try to make things in a way that is sustainable for the environment. So I recommend that you go check them out, and specifically go check out this sweater if you are looking for something like this. It's kind of cropped, they have a bunch of colors, and if you feel that Reformation is in your price point. Okay, I'm going to be using the Tarteist Pro palette again. I also use this in part 3. I like this palette a lot. Sturdy packaging, nice big mirror, great for travel. You might see the camera. And it has a variety of shades. It has a mix of cool tone, warm tone. Today we're going to be using trendy and kind of just like a lot of the shadows along this bottom row. Something that I like about this palette and that I think makes it beginner friendly, also mentioned this in my last video, is that they are kind of set up so that each row can become its own individual look and the colors are cohesive together. So if you're just starting out, that could be a really, really useful guide. It's matte heavy, which I think is better than a shimmer heavy palette for most users, but you do have these gorgeous, pretty wearable shimmers. Trendy has a duochrome effect where it has this like kind of green to brown bridging on purple shift. I didn't think I would like it, and then one time I was just playing and I put it on my eyes and I thought it looked gorgeous, so we're gonna do a look with it. I'm gonna start out with priming my eyelids. I'm gonna use Tarte Shape Tape in Medium Honey. Medium Honey is the one that's closest to my skin tone right now, so I'm not going lighter, which is fine for this look because my eyeshadow is going to be dark and it's going to all cover my lid anyway. And for something like this, you don't necessarily need a ton of pigmentation because, again, dark eyeshadow all over your lid, just something to serve as a base is good. And I'm going to set that with my Laura Mercier Loose Translucent Setting Powder. So I'm going to go right in with the color Bold down here as my first transition shade. So the brush that I'm using is a Morphe M441, and I'm tapping off excess because that's always a better way to start, and I'm putting that right in my crease. This is a fairly neutral brown that's close to my skin tone, but definitely dark enough that it shows up and is kind of like a good starting point for a lot of different looks. Okay, so I think that's good for now. I basically followed the shape of my eye. If you want to create an upward kind of pulled up snatched kind of look, instead of following the curve of your eye, you could wing it out. And I've seen some makeup artists pull it out this way as well, and that'll make it kind of look like, you know, when you have a really tight ponytail and it just pulls everything back and creates this kind of like fierce, intense look. That'll do the same thing as that, but you're not actually pulling at your skin. So that's an idea. When it comes to this palette, for someone with a skin tone similar to mine, and like when it comes to eyeshadow especially because you have the ability to use a pigmented primer, that is a pretty wide range of skin tones that what I'm saying would apply to. There's a lot of shades that could act as your transition shade, and so this palette in particular has a bunch, like this one and this one, that are a little bit more pinky toned. but that are also in the right like darkness level to work as transition shades. This one and this one are more cool toned brown shades, and to me this one's a neutral. So it's just a matter of deciding, you know, what you think is going to look best with what you're going to do next. So we have our transition shade down. Next I'm going to go into a darker color. So I'm going to do Edgy, which is just this brown here, and I'm going to put that into the crease, more controlled. Again, I'm trying to not use like too many shadows. This is my Morphe M506, and I'm gonna start that on the outer corner and then into the crease, but more controlled, but still like visible. And I think I am gonna go in with the black at the end, so I am just following a lot of the shades in that row to kind of show you how they all work together. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with the brush that I used for my first transition shade, pick some of that up and use that to blend out the edges of my second shade. At this stage, you want to make sure that you're not losing your first transition shade and that it's not getting too muddy. And so I'm just dragging it out a little bit further so we can see that color. And another thing that you can do to prevent things from getting muddy is to use a separate brush to blend out. I just cleaned my brush off on a color switch. So we're going to use this color, Trendy. I'm going to swatch it on my hand real quick. So that is Trendy. You can see how beautifully it's swatched and maybe see some of the Duochrome. I'm not sure if the camera is catching it or not, but it's super, super pretty. And I'm going to use that with my finger first, and then to go in with a dense flat brush to sort of make more precise placement. As we go towards my inner corner, then my finger can do. So, picking up the product on my finger and then just pressing it onto my lid. You see how easy that was. I love it. I think it's so beautiful. Another option that you have is to spray your brush with Fix Plus, which I think I'm going to do whenever I switch over to the brush, just so you can see what difference it makes. Got my Fix Plus. This is the brush that I'm going to be using. I'm going to clean it off real quick. I am going to go in with my brush first and then spray it with Fix Plus later. That prevents the shadow itself from getting as wet, which helps its longevity. The shadow in the pan, not on your eye. Like your palette will stay good for longer. But if you have something that is a little bit more dry, a little bit more crumbly, it can help to have a wet brush when you pick it up. Whoop. Go in with my transition shade brush and go over this bit a little bit so it is more blended. Go back in with my brown shade, Edgy. And now I'm going to take the pencil brush, which is the M431, and I'm going to use that to pick up a little bit of black and very carefully place it on the outer corner. So, and then use the same brush that I used with the brown, the M506, to very carefully blend that out. I'm going to extend it into the crease a little bit, but generally keep it pretty controlled. Okay, examine, and if you feel comfortable, bring it out a little further. The further out you bring it, the more dramatic your eye look will be. Okay, now I'm going to clean off that blending brush and then go back in with Edge. And then back in with Bold. And then just keep going back and forth and shape the eyeshadow to what you want. So I'm just going to do that on the other eye. Whenever you decide that your eyeshadow looks symmetrical enough for you, you can move on to the next step, which may depend on the fallout situation and also on your eyeliner situation. If you want to do a cat eye, or if you want to kind of create the illusion of a cat eye by creating a sharp line here instead of like the soft diffuse situation that we have right now, you could just use a makeup wipe and create that line. Something else I wanted to know, I just used a single shimmer on my eyelid for this tutorial because I really wanted to showcase trendy, but you can also do a gradient of shimmers or just a couple, or do different shimmers with like big contrasting colors. That can look really cool as well, and I have other tutorials where I do that, so you can watch those. The Soft Glam palette tutorial is a good example of that because I use a lot of the shades in that video, so you can reference it. But I'm just gonna quickly wipe my under eyes, NARS Pour and Shine in the regular spots. Next, I'm gonna go in with the Smashbox Primerizer. This is a hydrating primer. Next, my favorite foundation, L'Oreal Pro Glow for a dewy look. I'm gonna put that on the Beauty Blender directly. Tarte Shape Tape in Medium Honey for my concealer. A littlest bit of Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder just to set my eyes. Okay, now let's move on to the lower lash line. So I think I'm going to sort of replicate what I did on the upper, oh, if I can get this open, on the upper lid on my lower lash line. So I'm going to start with bold. I'm going to take this pencil brush and I'm going to use that for bold. And I'm going to kind of connect it with this outer line. Okay, now I'm going to take the 213 and I'm going to dip that into edgy. And I'm going to smudge that along this portion of my eye. Again, connecting it to its equivalent color. Okay. And then I'm going to use that same brush, once I clean it off, and dip it into Trendy. And I'm going to put that along here. Again, so it mirrors what's on my top lid. Yeah, and then one more thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use this shade Punk, sort of as like an eyeliner. So again, on this brush, I love this brush is so versatile. I'm going to take Punk, and then I'm going to lay it very close to my lash line. And really, the only reason I'm doing this is because I'm about to put down mascara, and mascara can sometimes transfer a little bit. On my eye shape, it definitely does. I just decided to do this, by the way, so ideally you would have done this before your face makeup, but I'm not seeing much fallout, so we're doing okay. Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. Milani Luminoso Blush. Then I'm going to use this highlight. This is Mirror Me from Dose of Colors. And then I'm also going to use Mirror Me in my inner corners. I am trying to use a more golden tone inner corner highlight because I think if I use something that's champagne, that might just look icy compared to how dark my eye makeup is. Yeah, I'm vibing with that. Okay. Roller Lash by Benefit. Coming together. Lashes always do it. Okay, Kevin Aquan brow pencil. Kush brow gel, something fiber. Kush fiber brow gel in Grind. Milk Makeup. Okay, I'm gonna quickly line my lips with my Smashbox Always Sharp lip liner in Nude Light. And then I'm gonna go in with this Urban Decay lipstick. This is the shade Uptight, and it is a beautiful peachy brown. Oh my god, almost identical to that lip liner. And then I'm not going to use setting spray right now because I'm going to take this look off pretty soon. But if you wanted to use setting spray, now would be the time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed my last eyeshadow techniques one. I know that this one was a pretty easy look. I think more approachable for sure. I got to talk some more about this palette, which I think is pretty bomb. Great beginner palette if you wanted to check it out. Like and subscribe, please, and I'll see you next time. Bye.